I had Tom Segura on an interview one time, and I told a story about the Mexican pilot. Does that ring any?
Yes.
It just
Yes.
you're talking about like how humans do damage to one another. But so the 60-second version is there was this Mexican pilot, civilian. He's going out for his last test. Rafael Pacheco, I think is his name. He's going out to do his last test run as a pilot, and it's a simple route. Hey, you're gonna fly solo to prove you know what you're doing. He takes off, and he immediately starts to realize that he doesn't have control over the instruments. The instruments were pretty rudimentary to begin with. This is like the 1950s or 60s, I think, and so it's a lot of dead reckoning from the pilot's seat. Like he's looking out to see where he needs to go. The mist is getting bad, and then he's calling over the radio. He's like, I can't get my plane to move, and then suddenly he passes out, and his plane like accelerates up into the sky, and then he wakes up hours later off the coast of Acapulco. Which, based on how much fuel was left, he had too much fuel for how far of a distance he had covered from where he had taken off, Chimalacán, Mexico. It was more than like a 3-hour drive. So he's too far away with too much fuel, and he comes to in his plane. He's still flying. He has no idea how he got there. He's just coming to. And Rafael, he hears in his radio some voice, and it's a air traffic control guy, Carlos, who's down in Acapulco. And he's talking to Rafael as if they've been having an ongoing conversation. But Rafael's like, what's going on? Like, where am I? Like, what's going on? And Carlos is like, what? Like, are you alone in your craft? And Rafael's like, he's like taking stock of his situation. He regains control of his plane. He's like, what am I doing? And so basically Carlos is like, hey, dude, like come in and land here. We'll figure it out. So Rafael's like, I don't even know what happened. I passed out at the wheel. He lands at the airstrip in Acapulco. And immediately he's met with these guys in suits, like picture Men in Black. He gets scooped up and he's brought to a hospital where he's drug tested and talks to a psychologist, and they don't give many information at all. He's like, what happened? Like, I'm so sorry. And they determine that he's not crazy and he's not on drugs. And only then do they say, hey, so when you were out off the coast of Acapulco, you were flying in circles for over an hour. And Carlos, the air traffic control guy, he's the one who saw you on the screen, and he was talking to you for an hour while you were out there. And the whole conversation is recorded. And basically, if you can listen to the recording, and I'm pretty sure you guys might have on the show, Rafael passes out, and then at some point, a couple hours later, when he's somehow magically off the coast of Acapulco, a voice comes across in the cockpit that's like this robotic, deep, altered sounding voice that doesn't sound like Rafael. In the earlier recording, it sounds like Rafael's voice. Now it's different. And he's talking to Carlos, and this voice comes through and says something to the effect of like, you are listening to the sound of the voice coming through the pilot, but it's not his voice. We are inhabitants of this universe. But your technology is so primitive. This is the only way we can contact you. We're here to tell you that you are the only intelligent species in our universe that uses warfare to harm one another, and you're effectively on the brink of extermination, and you need to find a way to stop it. And then like Rafael comes to, and that's when he's like, what's going on? And Carlos thinks he's been talking to Rafael the whole time, and that's when he's like, is there somebody else in the cockpit with you? Anyways, so it's this big mystery. But Mexico took the story and kind of like sequestered it. The way we got access to the transcripts of it is we had to write a letter to a library in Mexico that had access to the transcript. And anyway, but it's interesting to imagine that. One, I love thinking about life outside of Earth, because I think that the notion that there is life or that there isn't life is astounding and fascinating either direction you go. So I've always been interested in that. But two, the idea that others out there are warning us that we're on the fucking fast track to destroy ourselves and you better knock it off. That's also pretty crazy. And we're so accustomed to humans being violent and horrible to each other. That's our history, right? But like, what if that's not normal? What if it's like we're the fucked up people and we're just killing everybody and we need to stop?
I have a theory. And my theory is that I think when you look at all the different ancient religious texts in regards to the creation of the human race, there's so many of them that have these very bizarre, similar narratives. And these similar narratives are like in the Book of Enoch. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers come down and they mate with the daughters of men. There's a lot of weird stuff like that. even Adam and Eve, like God created Adam and God created Eve. He created, like, out of what? Like, why did he do that? Why did he do that? And what did he do with giraffes? What did he do with, like, why hummingbirds? What's going on? But they're not along the story's different. The story of humans is a story of engineering. It seems to be a story of genetic engineering. It seems to be a story of human beings being taken, like you take like whatever this primitive beast is and you put something else into it and you rapidly create something that's far more advanced than anything else. I think along the lines, you maintain too much of the primitive beast for the amount of intelligence that it has and the amount of technological competence that it's capable of achieving. It's too primitive still. It's too violent. It's too territorial. There's too much of it that's still an animal.
Yeah.
But we're not totally an animal. We're if you looked at us and looked at everybody else like, that animal's crazy. This animal makes fucking airplanes. Like, we're so different than everything else.
Yeah.
I think we're engineered. And I think we're engineered like, look, I've had pit bulls, and I know people will tell you pit bulls are great dogs and they're sweet dogs, and I love them. Don't get me wrong. However, they're sketchy fucking dogs. They're sketchy dogs. They're sketchy dogs, period. And you could love, it's all how you train them. Fuck you. Those dogs are designed to attack other dogs, and they don't. I had my dogs that I had to separate once. You never should have two females together. I realized that after a while.
I have that going on right now. It's not good.
Females, you got to get rid of one of them. You can't have the females together. They'll fight to the death. And males establish dominance. One male is dominant over the other males. The other males back off, and that's the room. That's not how it works with females. The female dogs, they keep trying to decide who's the boss. And I had to separate them. They're locked onto each other, and they're wagging their tails. They're biting each other's face and neck, locking onto each other. And I mean, full wagging the tail, like they're having the time of their life. Ugh. And I had to hose them down and separate them. I had to have someone help me. We made them.
Yeah.
Those are not a dog that, like, it's not a wolf. Wolves are really fascinating, clever creatures that have evolved over time with nature. And they're brutal to each other, but they're brutal to each other in a way that makes sense for the survival of the pack. It all makes sense if you look at like how it works and how they have to communicate together and they have to push out the weak ones and push out the old ones. It's brutal, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Pit bulls don't make any sense. They make no sense, and people don't make any sense. People are like something that somebody created. People are like super intelligent, very aware of our own finite lifespan, very aware of our own mortality, very aware of the consequences of hurting people, yet we do it anyway.
Yeah.
We communicate with each other. We know there's people that like their entire day is just fucking with people online.
Oh, yeah.
Their entire day is that. Like, so people like to cause pain, like to cause chaos. There's people out there that are warmongers. They enjoy starting war.
Yeah.
They enjoy getting involved in conflicts with other nations. That's their thing. That's what they do. We're fucking weird. We're weirder than any other animal. And I think one of the reasons why we're this weird and this incoherent is because we're engineered.
One thing that so I studied philosophy in college because at one point I thought I might go to law school, but I love like thought experiments. And one of the things that always stuck with me that's sort of along these lines is this idea that humans are almost to the point where you can't even notice it. You are completely egotistical. Like every human, you could basically define their whole existence as being absolutely egocentric. And it comes down to like how you treat other people and on your motives, whatever. But critically, there's one point that stands out above all. And actually, Neil deGrasse Tyson nails this. And I know you had an interview with him. I'm not sure if you guys covered this, but it's one of his best descriptions of how fucked up humans are and how we think about things the wrong way. So because we're so egotistical, like humans as a species, we sort of assume that, okay, well, if there's life in any capacity outside of Earth or undiscovered life somewhere, everything is sort of compared against us. We are the baseline. Intelligent life, you know what that looks like? Yeah, it looks something like us. How do we describe intelligent aliens. They're like gray beings they're like bipedal and sort of resemble humans. We have this sort of baseline thought that humans are the best and that humans are the smartest, and that if anything is going to be intelligent in the universe beyond us, it'll have elements of human to it, right?